Today I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview, primarily about what we're up to and what we're doing in the well side, but also a little bit about how you can best engage with us. So first of all, in terms of where we're doing and what we're doing, what we're really here and what we want to do as a technology centre is address the industry challenges. If we want to bring forward and maximise the economic recovery, then the key focus for us is obviously to engage with industry in all areas. So what I'd like to do first is, just as a sense check, by a quick show of hands, to get a range of who we've got in the small audience today. Who's with an operator? Anybody? No operators? What about the service supply side, whether you're with a large organisation or a small SME? Who's on the service side? Yeah, one or two from that side. What about academia and maybe research institutes, academia? Anybody? Yeah, one or two from that. So there must be quite a lot of you that are not anything to do with the oil industry then. So whatever you're here for, that's good. Okay, so what we're trying to do, obviously, if we want to maximise economic recovery, then we need to work with all sides of the industry and also bring in ideas from other industries. Our key role is really to understand the challenges that the industry faces in the well construction area, and then work with those operators predominantly to define and scope out those challenges and start thinking about what solutions would resolve those current challenges. And that's when we turn to and work with the innovator community, whether they be the SMEs or whether they be the academic institutes. What we need to do then is start to develop ideas of how we can bring solutions to address the challenges that we have. And our role as an organisation is predominantly set up through public funding to co-fund technology development and bring that technology forward in a faster fashion to the industry. And we can do that through co-funding with our money, partnered with the investment from the community of the industry. And one of the key things that we want to enable us to get technology developed and put into the market is deployment opportunities. That's something that we don't have, so our reliance is very much on the industry and the operator side of the industry to bring that to the fore. And we're looking really for development opportunities. And through all of this, what we really want to do is build partnerships across all sides of the industry, operator and innovator, to ensure that we can bring technology through for development access to the well construction side. Why is wells activity important to the future of the North Sea? Well, fundamentally, as I'm sure most of you are aware, wells happens to be a significant part of the cost base of any form of development and any form of access to oil production. So whether that be the early stages with the cost of exploration wells to give access and proof of hydrocarbon presence, or whether that be in later stages where we're looking at development drilling and bringing those platforms and those activities and fields on production. Wells tends to be something between a third and a half of all development cost activity in those environments. So getting that cost base at a real good point is really going to optimise that development and that delivery and bring reserves to the fore. Similarly, at the end of a well's life cycle, when it's delivered for us, we need to abandon it in a safe and environmentally friendly fashion. And again, when you look across the North Sea, there's estimated to be about 4,000 wells, or in excess of 4,000 wells, when we come to abandon the North Sea, that will need taken care of. At current abandonment costs, that was expected or is expected to cost the UK taxpayer and industry around £7 billion in the next 10 years alone. So massive cost benefit if we can address some of those challenges and reduce that liability to the industry. So if we do that, these are statistics taken from Oil and Gas Authority and Oil and Gas UK. It's estimated that if we could reduce the well construction cost by around 50% of the MER target, then that would unlock something like 5 billion barrels of the potential 20 billion that are reserves in the UK. And in a similar fashion, what we would do as a consequence of that is we would basically be saving around 800 million of investment a year on individual wells that could be tailored and targeted to subsequent wells and give us more access, more capability to deliver wells to the industry. So there's a massive prize out there if we can address this. And so our vision in the Solution Centre for Well Construction is predominantly around about maximising economic recovery through transforming the way that we deliver and drill wells currently. So we're trying to work and articulate that vision in 4 individual sort of areas. The first 2 on the left are really around about how we go about constructing wells, and this is twofold. It's about how we actually design wells, and if you look at what we do as a well construction entity, as an industry, a lot of what we do we've been doing for the last 50 or 60 years in a fairly similar fashion. We've actually, we run casings, we cement casings, we drill, we drill hole, we make it safe, etc. That's been done in a very similar fashion with extensions on that for the last 50 or 60 years. Similarly, we look at execution. We deliver wells through the rig. Most people, if you go to a rig these days, will see fairly limited difference from that rig's how it appeared and the number of men you see on it and the way that operation is run from way back in the 1980s to what you see now. If you went into many other industries and look at a 30-year transformational gap, you wouldn't see anything like that sort of similarity. Those industries have transformed themselves in the way that they deliver things in a massive fashion. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for us as an industry to actually look at how we do the way that drill wells and complete wells at the moment and actually transform that into a different way and a better way that brings in a lot more automation, it brings in a lot more proactive use of data and cognitive decision learning to transform what we do in how we deliver them. Similar areas are around, the well intervention aspect. Well interventions, getting wells active and producing for their entire life cycle is very important to maximise that economic return and the revenue. No other industry would tolerate something like 20 to 25% of its inventory shut in for long term because it has integrity issues. We need to get smarter and better at how we actually work and look after those wells and deliver those wells in a long-term fashion so they're reliable for their life cycle. And the final one, when it comes to abandonment, realistically what we need to be looking at, in my view, is how do we actually do the abandonments with a limited scope. Currently we use a lot of rig time, we take a lot of the tubulars out of the well to give access, to put barriers in place. We need to look at smarter and more efficient ways of how we can abandon wells safely with minimising that work scope. And so these are all areas that we're looking at and focusing in on in our Technology Centre, Solution Centre. And while we've been active, I guess now for only 6 or 7 months as an organisation, we've made some significant progress, I believe, in our Solution Centre. We've got 2 key themes and ways that we're working. We've got one where we've got a set of directed projects that have been approaches from individual organisations to ourselves who have then collaborated and built partnerships with industry to put projects in place to develop those technology solutions. And we've also in parallel been running a targeted call and plan to run further targeted calls around key themes that we've opened up to the innovator community. And as a consequence of these, we've had something like 88 ideas that have come through our organisation in that first 6 months. And we've gradually been working our way through those, building collaboration with industry to put projects in place associated with those ideas. And currently on the left you'll see we've got 6 key significant projects that we've got off and running, and these total an investment on our behalf of just under 3 million, with a contribution from industry of around about 5 million. So we've got just over 8 million of committed funding to these projects already in our first 6 months, which I believe we can take reasonable credit at being good progress so far. The projects span all of the sort of themes that I've talked about earlier. We've got ones that cover well development, well construction activities, acoustic transmission is one example, where we're looking at transforming the way that we get data from downhole to surface, not using mud pulse telemetry, which is the industry current standard, which is bandwidth limited, but by using the drill string as a transmission system acoustically and turn it into effectively a guitar string where we can get orders of magnitude more data back to surface and use them in a more proactive way. We're also looking at areas around the abandonment side. Interwell would be another one I would look at, where Interwell is a thermite plug. It's a tool that will enable us to actually put abandonment barriers in place with minimal removal of any materials from downhole, so heavily moving us towards the potential to deliver a rig-free abandonment activity set. So we've been pretty active in what we've done. We've got a lot more projects in that hopper that we're currently working with to bring forward. Some of them you'll see on the stands today. We've got Orbin, who are here with us today, and we've got Dynamic Tubular Systems, and there's others around that will come through later in the week that talk to some of the teams that we're working with the Wells Solution Centre to drive our agenda forward. So how can you and how should you work with us? I think we're here, as I said at the start, to partner in all aspects with the industry, both the supply side, the innovator side and the operator side, to really understand and define the challenges. So come to us, let us know what your challenges are, help us sort of work with the innovation community to create ideas and build solutions, and most of all as well on that side, we need to be given access. If we can get access to develop and put in place some of these technologies, which has been a barrier for the industry in the past, then that is really the way that we will accelerate delivery of technology for the longer term benefit of the community here in the North Sea. And with that, that's an update from me about what we're doing, how I believe you should and can work with us, and I'm happy now to sort of answer any questions or any comments that you may have. Thank you.